Oh my goodness! Battle Cat, you a fool for this one!
Welcome to the foundation. It is yours truly, the incredible DJ Battle in the building. Let's go straight to disclaimer time. Disclaimer time, basically letting you guys know that, hey, it's just the king up in here once again, and you know the spill. I don't want no drama, no BS, no legal issues. Just here to have some fun and keep you guys informed. And always remember, entertainment purposes only. Well, let's start this bad boy off. Mike Tomlin stepped down after 19 years. Um, Never had a losing season. But we know in this game, day and age, it's all about them Lombardi trophies and how many championships you can get. But I don't know, man. I kind of have some mixed emotions about this. Was I surprised? No. Do I believe he really wanted to step down? And this is only my gut reaction. I would say no. You know, the leadership had already hinted about the possibility of, a change of direction. And, we get it. And keep in mind, 19 years is a long time. And for them to only have just three coaches over the last, 50, 50 some years, that's very impressive. You had Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and of course now Mike Tomlin. But like I say, man, I honestly believe that the writing was on the wall. And I can't totally blame Tomlin because I honestly don't believe he had a say on, who the quarterback was. I believe his hands were tied with as far as bringing in talent. But at the end of the day, his coaching for what he did with what he had was very impressive. To get two Super Bowl appearances and one Super Bowl win, a lot of coaches can't even say that. So definitely want to take my hat off to the brother. And like I say, I honestly believe they pretty much had a meeting. Say, look, let's go ahead and go. We're going to go a different direction, but we want to allow you the opportunity to step down. The Pittsburgh front office, them Roonies, they're going to always maintain an image that's squeaky clean, or they're going to allow you to go out with grace. So instead of just doing them like how the Ravens did Harbaugh and just straight, hey, you fired. It gave him the opportunity to step down. That's just my opinion. But either way, it's still it is a classy look for him to step down on his own terms, for optics. 19 years, especially as a coach, that's a lot of time, away from the family. Of course, I'm sure he accumulated a lot of wealth. So, he's still young, mid to early 50s. Sky's definitely the limit for him. He can pretty much do whatever he want or not coach again. He can get behind the TV screen and be an analyst, or he can go give it another shot, coaching wherever he wants. But if he walked away and not coached again, he still has in my opinion, a Hall of Fame career. So, definitely take my hat off to him. My Steelers gonna have a hard time replacing this brother, boy. It's gonna be hard. But that's the nature of the game. You have a beginning and an end. We knew it was going to come at some point, and all we can do is be thankful we had the time. I'm gonna still rock with the Steelers. I'm gonna still be supporting them and going to the functions and games. So, but yeah, this brother's definitely gonna be sorely missed. So now look what we have here with everything that's going on. With ICE in Minnesota, especially in Minneapolis, and the uprising, the roar that's going there. I noticed at the beginning of the week, the Philadelphia sheriff took some time to bring attention to the situation, responding to the shooting in Minnesota, and pretty much just letting it be known that between her and her attorney general for the state, they're pretty much on the same page as far as how to deal with masked individuals like ICE coming to Philadelphia and bringing that noise, or as she say, they don't want the smoke. I'm all about law enforcement. She's absolutely correct, and I also believe that if you're going to wear the badge, or whether it's federal or on a city or a county level, you should be visible as far as your appearance. It shouldn't be no mask, no eyes hiding. You shouldn't have that luxury of hiding, because you need, when there's accountability that needs to be met, you need to be identified. So I get that aspect of it. But what I didn't, like I said, what I didn't expect, I didn't expect it to say that they would arrest, ICE members if they break the law. So I'm like, wow, how does this work? Let's see how this gonna work out because ICE is under federal jurisdiction. So it's gonna be interesting to see how this play out because it almost sounded like it's like, hey, one set of law enforcement versus another. She made it clear that they're not going to hide your identity. They're going to make it known. They're going to arrest you on the spot. ICE, the representatives for the government, basically said that, hey, let's see how that works. Let's see how that'll work if you try it. So now, Philly has its own issues and things going on. But I don't think ICE was on the radar, at the moment, but it is now. I can guarantee you that it's on the radar now. And we're going to see who's bluffing and what's going to happen when they do descend on the city of Philadelphia. Will it be, like she said, will the law enforcement step in and bring that smoke, or will the ICE call a bluff and bring their own smoke? So it's definitely going to be on the radar. I'm just praying that, that, our beautiful people up there don't catch the wrath like they're catching in Minnesota. Because you already see what's going on up there, right? Minnesota, they're not playing, man. They're going door to door, knocking on doors, knocking doors down, pulling folks out. It's deliberate. What they're doing. They're, gaining access to information, whether it's through cell phones or technology, or even neighbors saying that, hey, yeah, it's some Somalians or there's some immigrants that stay in the house. They're going door to door, which most people recognize as almost like a Nazi type move. Going door to door, snatching folks up and throwing them in cars, throwing them in the paddy wagon, throwing them in vehicles, arresting them. It's getting ridiculous, And then you see on the, intersections, they're out there, smashing windows, pulling people out that they feel like are immigrants based off of their appearance. And some of these people are Native Americans or they just, look like they're from somewhere else. It's just amazing how they can just look at someone and just, oh, that's immigrant right there. But you notice what they don't look, who they don't pull out the car. How do you know if someone's not Irish or from, from Sweden or Germany? You always go after the darker, which is weird in itself. It's a hot mess. They're trying their best to, I don't know if they're trying their best to avoid confrontation or because they're so angry, they want to directly engage with them. And once you directly engage with them, you pretty much gave them the green light to go ahead and snatch you up out of there, like you see right here. It's never going to end pretty. It's going to be nothing but drama. You're going to have a busted window out, and whoever's in the car is going to be directly affected as well. But what I didn't like also was there was a brother who had like 6 kids in the car. One of the ICE agents had threw like one of those smoke bombs and flash bombs inside the car, and it's like 6 kids in the car. One of them was like a toddler, or infant, or something like that, and with just reckless. The brother like, hey, I'm just driving through. It's getting ridiculous. Now that was just totally unnecessary. You could have killed one of those kids. It's obvious what they're trying to do, but they're trying to take it to the martial law level. They're trying to get that reaction out to people to where it's definitely a deadly confrontation where it's shooting. Once you see them bullets start flying toward the ICE agents, they start taking out, then you'll see the full out martial law, tanks, everything. You're gonna see the whole 9 go there. And if you listen to billionaires like Mark Cuban, who's pretty much hinted, to everybody out there, you may want to go ahead and, get some supplies like, toothpaste and, soap and, various other supplies that key that something's going to happen really soon. So I pay attention to stuff like that. Plus, I always like to pick the brain of folks who are on the forefront of those type of battles. They'll let you know in so many words like, yeah, you might want to, grab a few items just in case something pop off. But yeah, like I said, it's popping off. It's really hot in Minnesota, and we know that they're going to eventually bring it to Philly because of what the sheriff out there has said. Now, one thing I have noticed, the situation where Renee Good, killer, the ICE agent Jonathan Ross, those GoFundMe. I don't know if people have peeped it out. I don't know what it is about being in some type of law enforcement and just and being rewarded for taking out a citizen. His GoFundMe is damn near what, 1 million, almost near $1 million. He close. He need about what, 250,000, about $300,000 more, and he'll cross over that $1 million threshold. And I'm just like, man, this is insane. They're already trying to justify it, coming out with statements like, oh, he had internal bleeding. From what? From a menstrual cycle or something? He could have had no internal bleeding from that situation. They're trying to do everything possible to justify the execution. It's horrible that you can get rewarded, and it's only going to encourage you. In my mind, it's going to only encourage you. Imagine you're another ICE agent. You're like, you know what? Shit, my colleague got $1 million. Yeah, let me see how much money I can get out the deal. Shit, I'm gonna go ahead and take me out a couple citizens or immigrants myself. Shoot, that's big business. It's insane times, man. You know, I definitely don't advocate for violence, but I definitely don't like the idea of someone just shooting a bomb, a smoke bomb, or a flash bomb into my car, and I got my kids. Oh yeah. Once you get pushed to a certain corner like that, you don't have no choice but to react. So, you know, all I can tell folks do is, hey, protect yourself, because you already see what's out there. You know, we got to get necessities and, you know, do our daily activities, and we should be able to do that without being harassed and having smoke bombs shot up in your car. But yeah, man, we definitely want to keep our eye on that situation. That's just a hot mess, man. It really is. Definitely. Now, something else that needs to be noted. I'm pretty sure you guys remember this crazy ass nurse right here. Name is Erin Elizabeth Stroutman. If you remember or recall, this is the crazy nurse from Virginia who would break Black kids' bones. You know what I'm saying? While they're in the NICU. So just imagine that. You know, you just had your night, you know, you had your child in the NICU while you're trying to get rest. And you have a nurse like this just going there, taking their limbs, pushing them over their head, breaking their limbs and bones. Just malicious with it, right? When it's supposed to be the happiest time of a family's life, a mother or a father's life, and you're deliberately trying to disable their child in the hospital's care. Well, this woman is back among the streets. Only took the $25,000 bond to get her out. She's amongst the streets. So you look at that face very well, know that name very well. You know, and I'm not gonna tell folks on how to react or how to respond, but just know that this person's out there. And you know, I wouldn't be surprised if some hospital would hire with knowing that information, right? So keep that in mind. Look at the face and protect your child and keep them as far away from this person as possible. You know, but it's just some other type of justice that need to take place. You know, if she thinks she's just gonna be hurting innocent babies and think it's just gonna go without any consequences, just know it's coming. Now, this is interesting. There's a candidate running for governor, James Fishback, Republican candidate running for governor. He's proposing a 50% sin tax on OnlyFans. So if those women who or models that, you know, make money for themselves and make, you know, because, you know, there's a lot of folks that make great money for OnlyFans, you know, whether they're, you know, off-duty teachers or just models who found a way to make money or monetize off of OnlyFans and make good money. And I'm all for it, you know. Hey, if it's legal and you can go about making your money that way, hey, get your money the way you get your money. I get it. You know, if folks are willing to pay for it and it's legal, and you know, some folks are millionaires making good money. James Fishback, in his proposal, he wants to raise $200 million, right, to pay the teachers, which is fine and dandy. That's good to begin with, because teachers are severely underpaid, severely underpaid. Honestly believe they deserve at least 6 figures. The last 30 or 40 years, their wages have stayed stagnant. As cost of living went up, as inflation made everything else went up, their pay seemed to somehow literally stayed the same. So if they were making $26,000 a year then, they probably making the same amount of money now. Their pay have actually went down. That just lets you know that the teacher's pay is a smack in the face. But like I say, the gesture is good as far as wanting to increase the pay. But I don't believe that you should go after a company that you just pick out the blue because you feel like it's a sinful way of life, and you just feel like they should be applied some type of syntax. What about large corporations? How come you don't come after them that way? It just doesn't make sense that you would just go about a discriminatory way of singling out OnlyFans, tax them for 50%. That's, I don't know how they can even pull that off. If anything, folks who do make their money through OnlyFans in Florida, they'll just leave the state. That's all. They just go one state above, or just leave the state outright. I don't see how that'll fly. But you got, here's the idea. Why don't you tax those senators or congressmen that make at least $150,000 a year, but somehow have a net worth of 200 million, just out the blue, based off of that side? How come you don't tax them? or just flat out just pay? Honestly, why don't you pay the teachers what you should be paying them? Pay them like you pay the senators and the congressmen. That's all. They're responsible for creating the leaders here in our country. I don't know. It's just teaching is such it's not respected, and the pay will tell you that. I see why a lot of teachers are, they're jumping into it for the right reason, but the first opportunity they get to get out and make some real money, they do it. They'll just jump ship. And they say the children are the future, but it seems like they don't care. It's like AI is the future, so hell with the kids. It's just sad because I know some really amazing teachers who could really make a difference, but they don't get paid what they deserve to make. You're working a profession like that, and then you can't even get the necessities that you need, the basic necessities, a nice home or vehicle. It's almost like you need Section 8. It's just way out of control. Pay the teachers what they deserve to be paid, and get the money from who should contribute, not just a random company that you just don't like because you don't agree with their way of making money. I mean, it's their right. It's a good. Someone had an idea, they get paid. That's the American dream. Make money doing off something that you created. I mean, that's how it should be. But you shouldn't tax them 50% because you don't agree with it. Now on to the last subject, man, which is pretty much has been the hot topic as of lately. The content creator and comedian Druskii, he did a sketch about the mega churches, and of course he's under fire from the church population. They just really feel like it's a mocking God, and it was like, man, y'all, come on, man, it ain't that deep. You know what I'm saying? I don't honestly don't see what the issue is. Everything that I've seen him do on that sketch was just hilarious, and you can pull from examples of everything that you've seen in mega churches or even some regular churches. It's just, I don't know, man. With that crowd, man, they just believe that when you expose some truth, that all of a sudden it's a problem, or they want to frame it as you're mocking God. No, they're not. No, you're not. And see, that's the problem I had with so-called church folk begin with. You know what I'm saying? When you don't believe what they believe, you're looked at as a demon, or they want to distance themselves from you, or they want to tell your kids that you're going to hell if you don't believe what they believe, or they'll try to divide a family and say that, well, your husband doesn't go to church, so therefore he's leading y'all to hell. I've heard it all, man. I've seen it. I just sit back and laugh and explain to my kids, that basically their path is between them directly with the creator, and that's it. You don't have to have no middleman that's in the way to your path to greatness or your purpose. So let's look at some of the examples, the buffoonery that we see in some of these mega churches or even the common church. Now you see in the background, levitating with the red bottom shoes. Oh, well, where did he get that from? It wasn't that long ago that we saw a bishop coming from the ceiling and reading some scripture. Uh, uh, in the days of such and such and such. I'm like, look at this buffoonery right here. I've seen it all, man. And continue to just be amazed on how creative they get. And hey, my thing is this, if that's what it takes for you to be productive and get fulfillment out of life, if this is what it takes, have at it. Go for it. But don't get mad when my man expose it. Next example. Now, when it comes to this, prosperity pimping and just straight up just hitting up people over their head with some ridiculous demands, and might as well hold them at gunpoint because this brother behind me, he telling folks, everyone within the sound of his voice that can pay X amount of dollars, and he know they got it, and hey, y'all need to go ahead and lock the doors because I know we gonna get it. I feel like that's just pimping. Let's just call it the way it is. And you basically holding people hostage, to beat them over their head, to pay X amount of dollars so you can live your lifestyle. Because that's what it really comes down to, And my biggest issue with this prosperity pimping is our people in general. A lot of people. I ain't gonna say our people. A lot of people. You can directly control people because we're spiritual people by nature. So if you can somehow try to manipulate and tie that to how much you contribute financially, if you can tie that to guilt tripping them, paying X amount of dollars for the message or for the word, it works on them because our people are indoctrinated, meaning out the gate when they're born, this is all they hit over their head with, so that they can't question. They can't question what the pastor's teaching, or they can't question what the religious leaders teach. They just go along with it and don't even question because it's like forbidden. But see, that's where I'm kind of thankful the way I've been brought up, more of a free thinker stance, and not necessarily being indoctrinated with this. So it's easy for me to step outside and look and see what's really taking place. But let's keep it going with more examples. Now we remember this clip, what was that? Marvin Wines basically berating one of the members because she didn't contribute the right amount of dollars. And it was just so embarrassing the way, he belittled her and how it went viral. I just feel like, it's just wrong, especially in, where, first of all, you should be just thankful that one of your members is willing to contribute that type of money. And I grew up in Detroit. I know how a lot of these folks get down. I see how they operate outside of the church and how they operate inside. And it's two completely different animals. And that's another reason why I don't fall for the BS, because I see how you really roll. In one breath, I'm disappointed because I know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. And the people, they're pretty much handcuffed because that's all they know. And some of these cats, let me be honest with you, some of these cats come from backgrounds where they obtain money, whether it's through drugs or drug dealing or some other forms of hustling, but somehow got to master this form of hustling. And it's a guilt-free way because after all, you sell the product you're selling this, is the word of God, so you can really wipe your hands of it and feel like you're doing the people a service, and you can feel guilt-free because you're not selling drugs anymore. You're selling them, you're selling them something that they can, that's positive, giving people hope and direction. So I get it. And like I said, I've seen it from many angles, but I just choose to direct my family, away from that BS. Just to put it bluntly. You know, but once again, Druskii ain't doing nothing but exposing what we've already seen, right? The lavish lifestyle. Yeah. Look at like my man back here. Look at the eyes. Dude look like a demon. You look at his lifestyle and look at the money he's amassed, the homes, the planes. Hey, he run his operation like many other mega churches, leadership of mega churches. It's a well-oiled machine. It's a cash cow. The oldest hustle in the game. It works, and they're being blessed. Big money. So even though they do this, I can't be mad at them. All I could do is say, hey, it's a shame, but hey, if people are willing to freely give their money to them, what can you say? What can you say? It's the people that feed them. So yeah. So yeah, you seen a lot of backlash, like I said, with Druskii for only exposing what we already see and have more than enough examples. Man, I know I could have done a sketch like this many times. I thought about doing sketches like this, you know, but I just didn't have the nerve to do it. But so I definitely give my man props for for doing it because I laughed all the way through. Because none. I'm not gonna say all churches operate like this, but definitely can say majority. And one thing he didn't go in on is the members. You know what I'm saying, as well as the leadership. So it's a whole lot of stones that can be unturned or turned over. But he definitely touched on enough, especially with the end when he drove off in the luxury vehicle, and one of the members needed he needed prayer. And he asked him, did he tithe or did he donate? Did he contribute? And the member said, no. He told him, get the hell away from me. He drove off. Hey, that, like I say, I've seen that plenty of times from where I grew up, and it's no surprise. That's why it's definitely hilarious. But folks gonna be in their feelings about it, and they're gonna call them all kinds of names. But hey, what they say about the hit dog hollers, man. It's I can't do nothing but laugh. I'm sorry. But yeah, man, that's all I'm gonna give y'all, man. I'm gonna definitely let y'all roll up out of here. Definitely said my 2 cents for the week. I'm gonna be right back to talk some more next week. So I definitely hope you guys enjoyed the show. If you want to contribute, the Cash App, $ DJ Battle 313. Subscribe, share. I look forward to hearing you, looking at you guys' comments and responding. And we'll keep it going, man. We'll keep it going.